Okay, let's jump straight into this. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating guide on how to implement a highly reliable, quantity-based project progress measurement system specifically using Technic Planning's methodology. We are unpacking a seriously rigorous approach to project controls in this explainer. If you've ever stared at a project report and thought, are we actually this far along or is someone just guessing? Well, you are definitely in the right place.
Because look, it's a trap so many project managers and organizations fall into. They're letting expensive software completely dictate their progress. You know the drill. They struggle with inaccurate reporting, the field numbers never seem to match the financial numbers, and the immediate knee-jerk reaction is to go out and drop millions on a massive enterprise software platform. They just hope this new tool is going to act like some magic band-aid. But here's the reality. If your underlying measurement philosophy is flawed, the most expensive software in the world is really just going to generate bad reports for you, only faster.
Instead, we need to completely shift our mindset here. Take a look at Arm. He's a project planner, and he represents the exact approach we should all be taking. He is looking for a highly reliable measurement system, and he knows the actual secret is adopting a rigorous design-first methodology. That means building a system based on verified quantities and objective rules, rather than relying on subjective feelings about how the work is going. So, here's our blueprint for today. We'll be heading 1. System design first, 2. The coding chain, 3. Production models, 4. Rules of credit, 5. Progress versus payment, and finally 6. The Microsoft 365 pilot. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. System design first. We often get so caught up in the excitement of deploying shiny new tech that we totally bypass the actual mechanics of what we're trying to track. So the golden rule is this: you absolutely must design your measurement framework before you even think about buying complex enterprise tools like Primavera P6 or Innate. The actual system, the rules, the boundaries, the quantifiable units, that has to be designed first. You pick the tools that support your workflow. You dictate to the software, not the other way around. Because when you think about it, every functioning progress system needs these 5 core capabilities. You've got planning and scheduling, quantity and resource budgeting, field data capture, commercial valuation, and finally, reporting and forecasting. But, and this is a huge secret, no single tool necessarily has to do all 5. Like Microsoft Project or P6 are fantastic scheduling tools for sure, but they should never, ever be treated as your primary field measurement database. Your schedule should receive approved progress from the field, it shouldn't just magically generate it out of thin air.
Which brings us to Section 2, the essential coding chain. A great system is literally nothing without an airtight data structure. You should never start your measurement system by just listing out a bunch of individual schedule activities. Nope. Instead, you want to build a measurable work item register that maps all the way down through this strict 4-level hierarchy. You start at level 1 with your overarching work package. Level 2 breaks that down into specific measurement items. Think cubic meters of excavation or meters of pipe. Level 3 links those items directly to your schedule activities. And finally, Level 4 maps them right into specific cost codes for your labor, materials, and equipment.
If you skip this strict mapping, I guarantee your schedule, progress, and payment are eventually going to disagree. Think of this coding chain as the absolute DNA of your project. It links the physical, on-the-ground work directly to your cost and schedule. By tying every single piece of work through this chain, you completely eliminate that massive, confusing disconnect where a project somehow reports it's 90% done but miraculously 120% over budget.
Moving right along to Section 3, modeling, production, and norms.
Okay, so once your structure is strictly in place, it's time to ground all this theory in some hard math by building a credible production model. When you're out in the field analyzing extraction progress, you have to compare reality against your baseline norms. Your schedule needs to be built from a production model that uses verified quantities and established labor norms. You can't just populate it later with arbitrary labor hours and guess how long a task should take based on someone's gut feeling.
The math behind a genuinely credible baseline comes down to these core formulas, tying your budget quantity directly to labor norms. And these calculations prove a really vital point. If your schedule claims a task is going to take 20 days, but the actual math of your crew capacity and your labor norm spits out 35 days, well, your baseline simply isn't credible. You can't just mandate a shorter duration in a spreadsheet without physically changing your resources or how you're actually installing it.
All right. Section 4, Objective Rules of Credit. This right here is the ultimate cure for the dreaded, I feel like we're 80% done syndrome. For complex tasks, let's take a valve installation, for example. You use what's called weighted steps. Notice how this breaks down. You get 15% credit when the material is accepted, 35% when it's mechanically installed, all the way down to a final 5% for the handover records. Now, these are not just arbitrary round numbers pulled from the sky. These percentages are strictly derived from the budgeted cost distribution of each individual step. That means no progress is ever entered as some unsupported arbitrary percentage. It's black and white. You either have the approved inspection record for that specific step, or you simply don't earn the credit.
Section 5. Separating progress from payment. This brings us to a massively important paradigm shift. Seriously, if you take away just one thing from this explainer today, let it be this: the 3 realities in project controls. Look at this. It's a perfectly normal scenario. Your project might be 62% physically built out in the real world. That's your installed progress. But only 57% has actually been officially inspected and accepted. And incredibly, only 54% is commercially payable. These 3 numbers are completely different, and guess what? They are absolutely supposed to be different.
Commercial progress specifically represents the work that is contractually eligible for payment. It takes into account things like cash retention, variations, or even disputed materials. You should never try to force these values to match just to give yourself a clean, pretty dashboard. Progress measurement answers what is physically accomplished. Payment valuation answers what amount is legally due. Keeping these 2 things entirely separate is exactly how you maintain an honest project.
Section 6. Piloting with Microsoft 365.
So, the big question is, how do we actually implement all of this rigor without laying out a massive initial software investment? Well, if your project is already using the Microsoft ecosystem, you can actually create a really effective, low-cost proving ground. The absolutely crucial requirement for capturing data, especially on remote sites like a giant stadium build, is having offline or low connectivity operation right there where the work is actually happening.
And you can build this into a highly integrated ecosystem fairly easily. You start with Microsoft Project to handle your schedule. Then, you manage your registers over in SharePoint lists. You capture that vital field data using Power Apps on a standard mobile device or tablet. Then you trigger the official verifications through Power Automate, and finally, you visualize the whole shebang in Power BI. This flow completely avoids that massive upfront software investment. It lets you prove the methodology works and secure buy-in from the field teams first.
Now, when you are actually ready to test this, the smartest approach by far is a targeted pilot. Please, don't try to roll this out to everyone all at once. Run a tight, 2-week pilot focusing on just one contractor, one discipline, and one very measurable work package, like maybe a single pipeline installation. Test this objective tracking in a highly isolated environment so you can work out any of the kinks first.
Because at the end of the day, you want a system that is fiercely objective, commercially fair, and incredibly difficult for anyone to manipulate. And you achieve exactly that by strictly separating your verified physical progress from your performance velocity and, of course, from your financial payment.
So if you're ready to finally leave the guesswork behind, check the explainer description right now to access the complete Project Progress Measurement Resource Pack from Technic Planning. You can literally start building your objective system today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'm going to leave you with this one thought. If your payment numbers and your progress numbers perfectly match on your very next project report, what is your data actually hiding from you? Here's to measuring what actually matters.